He was wide-eyed and innocent.
Nigel was always a good kid.
Nigel generally, the youngest of 3 boys born to a proud mother.
Nigel was never a problem child and never got into trouble. I never had any issues with him.
Nigel?
How you doing?
But Nigel had serious problems, and we're all paying the price.
I won't never see him out here anymore. I won't live unless I live to be 8 years old. I'll never see my son.
It's not the first time the family has run on prison time. Nigel's father is 20 years into a 75-year sentence for armed robbery.
My son was a baby when I got locked up.
Nigel's older brother John, who's mentally ill, is in jail facing robbery charges.
I need real help.
This is the story about the breakdown of one St. Louis family, how it happened, and how much it's costing us as a society. Our story begins in Alton, Illinois. Nigel's mom, Nicole, born in 1969, was a little girl known for her big and bright smile. But behind that smile, she was hiding a secret that was tearing her apart.
I was abused, sexually abused by family members.
She got depressed, had low self-esteem, and felt alone. Nicole says her parents separated and that she rarely saw her father, even though he lived in the same town.
He wasn't there, and that hurt a lot.
In December 1987, just 2 weeks before Christmas of her senior year in high school, Nicole gave birth to her first son, John. In 1989, her second son, Nicholas, was born. Court records show that Nicole repeatedly filed criminal charges against their father, accusing him of physically abusing her. In at least 3 cases, the charges were dropped because Nicole didn't show up for court. She kept going back to him, hoping and praying things would get better.
He told me if he couldn't be with me, if I didn't want to be with him, he was not going to be there for the kids. And he meant it.
About a year after Nick was born, Nicole packed up her belongings in the middle of the night, took her 2 sons, and left their father.
Yeah.
Not long after that, she met Keith Buckles, a man with a long history of car theft and forgery. They had a son, Nigel, born in 1992. 2 years later, Keith Buckles was convicted of armed robbery and sentenced to 75 years in prison for masterminding the operation.
She loves them boys more than anything.
He spoke to us at the Menard Medium Security Prison in Chester, Illinois.
Mr. Cheatham, as God is my witness, I had nothing to do with them doing these armed robberies.
2 of his own children by a different woman testified against him, even though court records show there was conflicting evidence about whether he was involved at all. Keith was convicted and received more time than many killers get for a cold-blooded murder. He also lost his appeal.
I see my babies falling off one at a time, and I can't do nothing about it.
In 1996, 2 years after Buckles was sentenced to prison, Nicole generally was charged with cocaine possession. When she finished her probation in January 2000, she was 31 with 3 sons, ages 13, 11, and 8. She and the boys moved repeatedly, and Nicole continued drinking heavily. Her anxiety and depression made it harder to hold a job. The family fell deeper into poverty and despair.
A lot of things were ugly, and I know that probably had a big impact on their lives also. Seeing me drunk out of my mind, you know what I'm saying? Or having a different guy every 5-6 months, Probably because I drank. I wouldn't say because I drank. I didn't feel that I ran into the right guys, but I still don't think that was cool I think I should not have introduced them all to my kids so soon.
Well, what was the worst part of the way you grew up? What were the worst things about it?
Drinking.
Your mom's drinking.
Yeah.
We interviewed Nigel at the Menard Maximum Security Penitentiary in Chester, just a short drive from where his father is incarcerated.
What was so bad about that?
It affects you. It makes you feel like, man, I ain't got nobody. What can I do? You know what I'm saying? I just want to run away, just get away.
In an effort to escape the problems in their home, Nigel and his brothers joined a North St. Louis gang. John, who suffers from bipolar disorder, seemed to embrace gang violence the most.
I've been shot twice. It ain't cool, man. More than 15 of my homeboys get killed.
Diagnosed with mental illness as a teen, John became angrier, depressed, and suicidal.
I done tried to kill myself a lot of times.
Why?
Because I be getting tired of living. I be getting tired of going through this stuff.
John, who is 25,
Got my daughter right there.
says he has 7 children.
Got 2 sons right here.
Just before he got arrested for a crime he says he didn't commit, John believed that he had it all. Finally, he was able to get a monthly government check for his disability.
My girl.
And his girlfriend got a government housing subsidy. It was his version of the American dream.
I was getting everything that I possibly wanted when I was a kid for my kids. That's what I wanted to do. I want to grow up and be a family, have a family, a happy family, away from violence.
Both John and Nicholas were shot. Nicole still remembers running to Nick as he laid on his back, the teenage boy partially paralyzed by a bullet.
When I get down there and I see him laying there on the ground, on his back, and he couldn't move, and he looks up at me and he says, "It's your fault for moving us down here. It's your fault," and I can never get that out of my head.
Nigel was never shot, but some of his best friends were killed. After one of those murders, he dropped out of school. It was 2008. He was 16. Then, 3 years later, as the 19-year-old father of a newborn son, Nigel claims he was forced to commit a robbery to pay off a debt to a drug dealer. Nigel says the dealer threatened to kill his family if he didn't do it.
What else was I supposed to do?
2 days later, Nigel attempted to rob 23-year-old Tyler Hoppy at gunpoint. Nigel claims the gun accidentally went off, but regardless of how it happened, Hoppy was still dead, killed by a gunshot to his head.
My finger slipped and pulled the trigger, but I didn't pull.
So did you shoot him or not?
Nah.
You didn't shoot him.
Nah.
It's like somebody literally ripped my heart out.
Rachel Rawlings was Tyler Hoppy's girlfriend. She was 2 months pregnant when Nigel killed him. A week later, she had a miscarriage. That was a year and a half ago.
My whole world is gone. Everything came to an immediate halt. They didn't just take his life, they took mine too.
Yeah, I did wrong. Saying I did it. But at the same time, I do not deserve to spend the rest of my life in a penitentiary.
Although Nigel didn't know it at the time of the murder, Tyler was his cousin.
I apologize that I put myself in a position to even harm him. But at the same time, that can't change nothing.
This is a tragedy, but it's a tragedy that occurs frequently.
James Clark
What's up, brother? You all right?
is the vice president of Better Family Life,
We will give you what you need.
a local nonprofit that has a long history of helping troubled teens and former convicts get jobs and become involved in the community in a more productive way.
We have allowed some of our neighborhoods to become incubators for this kind of family tradition that becomes a neighborhood condition, and now it's a cancer that is eating at the core of the foundation of St. Louis.
Like any untreated cancer, the one that has devoured the Generally family continues to grow.
I'm doing the same thing to my son that my old man did to me.
I've done the blame me thing for all of their years, and I'm trying to get past that because I do know, that I raised them well. I raised them as best as I was able. The past, we have to leave in the past and take each day now to try to make things better and make things right. We are all we have.